Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to another Thoughts on Books video. Today we are going to look at The Great Gatsby. It's going to be kind of a shorter video because it's obviously a very small novel compared to the series I just did in the last video and then the 1,000-page book I did before that. But this is going to be a smaller book. It was a 4-hour audiobook that I read, and I have the book. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Kind of a little precursing thing here. I was not an enormous fan of this book. I don't know why it's a classic. I mean, I kind of know why, but I don't know if it deserves quite that status. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like a classic tragedy. Sort of. It's an interesting book, and I'm going to kind of talk about it a little bit here. So it is about the 1920s, I think it is. I don't ever know when it took place, but 1920s, I think it was. New York, not New York. Is it New York? It's East Coast, I think. And it chronicles the story of this rich guy who throws these super lavish parties, and then the kind of protagonist / narrator who lives next door, and just kind of wanders into a party one day. It's a very flowery novel. The language is very flowery. It's very light, but in turn, it kind of makes it confusing. The transitions from one scene to another are almost impossible to, at least ways with the audiobook, impossible to determine from one time to the next. It'll, a scene will end and all of a sudden it'll be months later in the next sentence, and it doesn't make it quite clear. But on the flip side, it's very, very elegant to read. Let me see if I can read a portion of it here for you. I told her how I had stopped off in Chicago for a day on my way east, and how a dozen people had sent their love through me. Do they miss me? She cried ecstatically. The whole town is desolate. All the cars have left the rear wheel painted black as a mourning wreath, and there's a persistent wail all night along the North Shore. How gorgeous! Let's go back, Tom, tomorrow. Then she added reverently, you ought to see the baby. I'd like to. She's asleep. She's 2 years old. Haven't you ever seen her? Never. Well, you ought to. It's nice and pretty to read, but at the same time, you're just kind of want to punch these characters in the face because they're so upscale. They're so flitty here and here. And my problem with this book was I didn't feel like the female character was super strong. It was one of those cases of this is the person everyone loves, but I didn't love her all that much. I thought she was a little bit annoying at times. So, getting into kind of spoiler territory here, basically prefacing the first part. It's nicely written little story. Really cool location. I like that time period a lot. It's one of my favorite time periods. But all in all, it was pretty much just too, I don't know. I'll kind of close on post spoilers here. So skip to this time if you want to avoid spoilers. So you got Daisy Fitzgerald. Who is this man? What's his name? I forget. Gatsby. Scott Gatsby. Once again, who are you? Carraway. Nick Carraway. Nick Carraway is kind of the person who's telling the story. He's kind of the sidelines guy, and he watches everything go down from a distance. Nick kind of is sort of an everyman that everyone who reads the book can kind of relate to. He's an easygoing guy. He sticks to himself and he just kind of watches people and mingles safely. He's not a bad character. The main deal is the Gatsby, Daisy, Tom whatever her name was, I forget, Myrtle, that kind of tragedy thing, that's sort of the main crux of the book. And I felt that, you know, it just kind of happened. It took place. It didn't really impact me all that much. It was well written. It, like, you know, the series of events took their course properly for everything to happen. And of course, you know, Jay Gatsby died. And everyone's like, oh, what's happened? Blah, blah, blah. And Nick's like, and then that's it. That's the end of the book. You know, I think it's fine in its own right. But, I don't know, because I feel like I don't see how it's a classic, or I don't see how it stood the test of time. I don't know why people read this in school, because it's not amazing in my mind. I give it like a solid 7 out of 10. I think it's a good book, but how it stood this long, like stuff today like this could get written and just completely fall under the radar. So I don't know what happened to make The Great Gatsby so irreverent and, you know, remembered by so many people, made into a huge, the guy who made Moulin Rouge movie. I forget his name. I'm awful. But yeah, it's still around, you know, it's still being adapted into stuff. But at the heart of it, it's just like an old school tragedy. It's, like I said, it's flowery, nice to read at times, if a little confusing, but I mean, you know, it's said and done at the end. So, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I think it was decent. I don't mind it all that much. I don't mind owning it. But at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is. So, comment, tell me what you guys think of it. You know, if you're fans, if you have any rebuttals or whatever, what have you, and thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. I plan to do more of these down the road, and I will see you guys later.